There are things that only happen in soap operas and in real life too. Just ask the little girl who shared her last piece of bread with a beggar, who was worth more than the entire building. That was all she had, a dry loaf, moldy around the edges, and yet she offered it with two trembling hands, like someone giving away a treasure. Across from her, an old man hunched over, filthy from head to toe, took the bread carefully, and cried. Yes, he cried. If you're someone who loves a good story, hit like and subscribe right now, or you'll miss what comes next in this tale that, I promise, will leave a lump in your throat. Listen closely now, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about a piece of bread. It's about choices, destiny, and the strangest way life found to reward a pure heart. The girl's name was Anna, so tiny. She looked like a gust of wind could carry her away, messy hair, a patched-up dress. She lived in a neighborhood where dogs bark skinny and children laugh on empty stomachs. No father, no mother, just a grandmother and hunger. That bread was all they had left. The grandmother had said, "Keep it, my child. It's all we've got." But Anna, seeing the man lying on the sidewalk with purple hands and a filthy beard, didn't hesitate. She walked toward him and said, "Sir, would you like a piece?" The man looked up, and for a moment she felt something strange, a glint in his eye, a posture that didn't match the dirt, but it passed quickly. Misery is a good disguise. He took the bread delicately, as if afraid it might break. "Thank you, little one. You don't know what you've just done." Anna gave a shy smile and went home. Her stomach growled. The grandmother asked, "You gave away the bread?" She nodded. The old woman sighed, poured some hot water with salt, and said, "Drink this. It's all we've got today." They had no idea that this tiny gesture would become news, uncover secrets, and change the destiny of an entire city. Because the man, that beggar, wasn't what he seemed. And what he did next, well, some people still don't believe it. But I saw it, and if you're brave enough, I'll tell you. Just know this. Some people look poor, but are rich in ways money will never reach. And others, rich in pocket, but poor in soul. The next morning, the bench in the square was empty at dawn. The so-called beggar had vanished as if he had never been there. No trace, no footprints, not even a crumb of bread. And Anna went on, with her routine made of silence and hope, unaware that her life had already begun to change. That morning, something strange happened. As she went to fetch water from the neighborhood well, a well-dressed woman she had never seen before approached her with a small notebook in hand and asked, "Are you the girl who gave the bread?" Anna widened her eyes, wary. "What bread?" "The one from yesterday, to the man in the square. It was just a piece of bread," she replied, embarrassed, as if she feared she had done something wrong. The woman smiled with a chilling expression. Yes, but it was the right bread for the right person. And then she walked away. Anna returned home with her head spinning. She told her grandmother, who let out one of those sighs only the elderly know how to make. Oh, that's going to stir things up. Those who come asking questions about what's already passed bring with them what hasn't yet arrived. And the waves came quickly. That afternoon, a black car, the kind the neighborhood had never seen before, stopped right at the entrance of the dusty alley. A driver got out, wearing a suit, looking like someone who had never walked through mud. Does Anna live here? People gathered like ants around a sugar jar, curious to see, quick to judge. And the man said, "Mr. Teodoro would like to speak with her." Teodoro. The name dropped like a stone in a deep well, because Teodoro was the name of one of the richest and most mysterious men in the city, the kind of man you don't even know if he really exists or if he's just a creation of politicians and land dealers. Anna's grandmother slowly rose from her chair. "What is this about?" And the driver replied, "He asked me to thank her and to invite her to his home. He said he has something to give her." Anna froze. Her heart pounded like a carnival drum. "But why?" The man looked at her seriously. "Because yesterday you did what almost no one in this world does. Gave without expecting anything in return. No one understood anything. Not the grandmother, not the neighbors, not Anna. But that's when the mystery began. Because if Teodoro really was who they said, what was he doing hiding in a square, dressed as a beggar, eating stale bread? Or worse, was it really him? And if it was, what did he want from an 11-year-old girl, skinny, poor, invisible. Yes, some stories begin with a piece of bread and end with a will. But calm down. We haven't yet reached the strangest part. The grandmother didn't allow it. She was direct and firm, with the strength of someone who has lived long to be fooled by fancy words. Anna isn't going anywhere. He could be a king, a millionaire, or a saint. But my granddaughter won't leave this house until I know exactly where she's setting foot. The driver scratched his neck. Uneasy, he pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to the old lady. These are the instructions. And the ticket. A car will pick you up tomorrow at 7 sharp .7 in the morning. With a letter in hand and fear in her chest, the grandmother locked the door that night as if she were locking out the entire world. She sat on the bed, lit a candle since they'd had no electricity for 2 days, and sat watching Anna sleep, wrapped in a thin sheet, feet uncovered. What do they want with this child? My God, she murmured softly. The letter wasn't signed by Teodoro, but it bore an elegant crest, sealed with red wax. Inside, just one sentence. Sometimes kindness changes destinies. Tomorrow, come reap what you have sown. And the name of a street, Magnolia Lane. No number. That was all. The problem was that address no longer existed. At least, not for the people in the neighborhood. That so-called Magnolia Lane had been condemned and closed off by the city years ago after a landslide. People said it was haunted, that no one lived there anymore since a wealthy woman had vanished without a trace, and that Teodoro himself, if it really was him, had bought that part of the city, then disappeared along with it. That night, the neighborhood didn't sleep, and the grandmother even less, because there was a dilemma. Refusing could be dangerous, but accepting might be even worse. Grandma, Anna whispered in the dark, what if he's an angel? The old woman didn't answer. She simply squeezed her granddaughter's hand and said, then let him be an angel. But Grandma is going with her. And she did. The next morning, at exactly 7 o'clock, a black car gleamed at the entrance to the neighborhood, identical to the one before, and this time no one asked questions. They simply opened the door. Anna got in. The grandmother got in. And the whole neighborhood watched in silence as the little girl vanished into that car as if she were entering another world. But what no one expected was that the driver was someone believed to be dead, or rather, someone said to be dead. The man behind the wheel was Teodoro's brother, and that name was cursed in this city. Anna's grandmother recognized the man as soon as he opened the car door for them to get in. Marcello, she asked in a trembling voice. The man hesitated but said nothing. He simply smiled with his eyes and gave a respectful nod. He wore a suit, but his face was the same as 20 years ago, only thinner, darker. The same face she had seen in an old news article. Under the headline, Missing Heir, Suspected of Fraud, Vanishes Without a Trace, Marcello Brandau, Teodoro's younger brother, son of a financial empire and of a family destroyed by tragedy and greed. The grandmother froze inside. She sat in the back seat, on her lap, as if she wanted to shield her from something invisible. The car moved forward in silence, passing through streets that seemed emptier than usual. No radio, no noise, only the hum of the engine and the sound of held breath. Where are we going? Anna asked. Marcello replied with a calm voice, full of thorns, to the only place where the rich still remember where they came from. It took more than an hour to reach the famous Magnolia Lane, but what they saw didn't look abandoned. Tall wrought iron gates, clean gardens, a scent of jasmine and apricot in the air, and a mansion immense, with old architecture and windows that seemed to observe, rather than be observed. Anna stood speechless. All this is his. Marcello nodded. It's his, and maybe one day it will be yours too. The grandmother squeezed her granddaughter's hand tightly. Is this some kind of sick joke? But he didn't answer. He simply pointed to the entrance of the house. Inside, time seemed frozen. Heavy carpets, paintings with eyes that followed you, spiral staircases, and a silence that screamed. An old lady appeared out of nowhere, dressed in silk, her hair white as freshly fallen snow. The child has arrived, she said without smiling. He is ready. As she pointed to a door at the end of the hallway. Marcello bowed. Only Anna may enter. The grandmother jumped up. Absolutely not. She's not going anywhere alone. But Anna was staring at the door as if she recognized something she had never seen before, as if the scent of wood, the golden doorknob, and the soft sound of piano from inside were awakening memories that weren't hers. She stepped forward slowly, step by step. Her outstretched hand reached the handle. She opened it, and on the other side was the old man from the square, except now he was dressed like a king, on a simple but regal throne, with eyes burning with clarity, and a photo in his hand. Anna walked in, and he said, "I knew you'd come, my child." The little girl froze. The grandmother stood still, because the photo in his hand was of Anna as a baby, in the arms of a woman who was none other than Teodoro's lost daughter Dot. And if that were true, then Anna wasn't just a girl from the neighborhood. She was the heir to an empire, and a lie. The room was a sanctuary of old memories. On the walls, family portraits, hand-annotated maps, candles lit as if for a funeral vigil that never ended. The old man, now clean, well-dressed, with the deep eyes of someone who has seen too much, extended the photo to Anna. "That was your mother, and she was my daughter. She disappeared 12 years ago, the day I was told you had died at birth." The grandmother walked in, eyes wide. "That's a lie. Anna's mother died in the Dos Rios flood with her father." Teodoro shook his head slowly. "They lied to you, Dona Zulmira. They lied to us all." The photo trembled in the girl's hands. "But why? Why hide all of this?" The old man looked at Marcello, who stood near the door, his face as hard as marble. "Because someone had to erase the heir's name, and someone from my own family took care of that." The tension in the room was thick. You could cut it with a dull knife. Marcello lowered his eyes. The silence said more than words ever could. The will was ready. Everything was to go to her. But when my daughter died, or rather, when I was made to believe she had, I burned everything. I gave away my businesses. I sold my name. I went to live on the streets, trying to understand where I had gone wrong. Anna stepped closer, slowly. She looked at the old man with the eyes of someone who had never had a grandfather, and who suddenly had to, one by blood, one by abandonment. And why show up now? Teodoro took a deep breath. His chest hurt, more than his bones. "Because you gave me bread when no one else looked at me. Because even without knowing who I was, you saw me." Dot, the grandmother, came closer, more angry than afraid. "That doesn't change anything. This child is my granddaughter. I raised her. Her mother drowned. I saw her in the coffin. I buried her." The old man looked at her with sadness. "You buried an empty coffin, Zulmira. My daughter was murdered, and the child was hidden." Anna felt the world spin around her. "My mother was murdered?" Teodoro nodded, tears sliding down slowly, "by someone who carried the same name as mine." Anna's eyes turned to Marcello. He looked away. "I didn't know. I swear on everything," he murmured, trembling. But Teodoro struck the floor with his cane, carried by anger. "Yes, you knew. You're the one who handed her over. You're the one who erased our story." Marcello dropped to his knees. "I just wanted to protect you. They were going to kill you too." The truth shattered on the floor like broken dishes. Anna stepped back. Her blood boiled, then froze, then boiled again. The bread she had given the day before had become inheritance, murder, lies, and power. But before she could say a word, the door slammed open. A tall man in a black coat entered unannounced. "Sorry to interrupt," he said with a chilling smile, "but I believe we have a problem." It was the Brandau family lawyer, and in his other hand, he held a new will, one that didn't mention Anna's name. Asterisk, the lawyer was the kind of man who enters a room as if he already owns it. Custom suit, shoes that didn't even seem to touch the floor, they floated. He smelled of expensive leather and cold smoke. Upon seeing Anna, he gave a cynical smile, as if he already knew everything before the story even began. "Good afternoon, Mr. Teodoro," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I'm simply here to handle formalities. 3 years ago, you signed a new will, which now takes effect." Teodoro lifted his eyes slowly, but firmly. "I was lost, manipulated, dead inside." The lawyer simply opened his leather folder and pulled out the documents. 3 copies, certified signatures, all recorded, and 1 signature. Impossible to deny. You were perfectly lucid. Here, it states that you relinquished your inheritance and transferred everything to a single beneficiary. Marcello, pale, tried to say something. "I never asked for this." But the lawyer wasn't there to listen. He was there to confirm, to bury, to ensure that the little girl who gave away bread would remain just that. As of today, all assets, stocks, and properties of Mr. Teodoro fall under the control of the Brandau Foundation chair. Guess who? He added theatrically, Mr. Marcello Brandau. Anna stood up, not understanding. But he said everything belonged to me. The lawyer didn't even turn. The child isn't registered. No DNA test, no birth certificate, no family name. The grandmother flared with rage. This is a scam, a setup. Teodoro rose from his chair with effort, his body shaking with rage and helplessness. I was tricked, manipulated and destroyed, but I won't let it end like this. Marcello, eyes full of tears, whispered, I didn't want this, I swear. But it was already too late. The lawyer shut the file coldly. What you want no longer matters. Everything is recorded. The only way to overturn this would be if the girl were legally recognized as the rightful heir. After that, we need proof. Teodoro turned to Anna. His gaze had changed. It was no longer tender, nor wise. It was desperate. Your mother's journal. It still exists. Marcello's. Eyes widened. What? It's hidden, and in it, there's everything. Her name, her pregnancy, the reason she fled, and the names of those responsible. The lawyer stepped forward. Cold as ever, that journal never surfaced, and if it suddenly does, it will be considered a forgery. Teodoro looked at Anna and said firmly, but you will find it. And when you do, everything will change. Before anyone could react, the old man collapsed to his knees, his body clenched, his breath stopped. On the screen, the grandmother ran. Marcello stood frozen, and the lawyer simply turned and walked out of the room. Teodoro was having a heart attack, and in his final words, gripping his granddaughter's hand with the strength of someone clinging to life itself, he whispered, in the cellar of the big red house, behind the piano, and then he died. Anna's heart couldn't comprehend, but the world around her could. The war for a name had just begun. The wake was silent. No newspapers covered it. No authorities showed up. Only Anna, her grandmother, a few old employees, and Marcello, his face drenched in guilt and memories. But morning had no time to settle because that night, after everyone had left, Anna returned to the mansion. She waited for darkness to cover everything. She entered through the back, as one steps into a temple or into their own fate. Her grandmother wanted to go with her, but Anna said, if there's something down there, it's meant for me. That's what he said. Zulmira simply kissed her granddaughter's forehead and handed her an old crucifix. If you hear a noise, don't run. Pray. Anna walked slowly, her feet barely touching the floor. The grand room still held the wake's candles. In the corner, the old piano. The mansion at night was a sleeping beast. It creaked, breathed, groaned. The hallway seemed to stretch longer, and the eyes of the portraits followed her, black, immense, covered in a grayish cloth. Anna approached. She pulled off the fabric as one unveils a tomb. The piano looked intact, but when she pressed the key, a shrill note echoed, dissonant, like a scream. Behind the piano, the wall had a crack, a small hatch camouflaged under the baseboard, and there, exactly where Teodoro had said, a small iron, hook hidden between loose floorboards. Anna pulled on it. A sharp click, and the living room floor opened up. A trapdoor revealed an old staircase, made of rotting wood, smelling of dampness. Below, only darkness. She descended with a candle in hand. Each step groaned under her weight. The cellar was large, filled with furniture covered in sheets and paintings turned to the wall. At the very back, a red chest. Anna approached it, and when she opened it, she found no gold, no jewels. She found no books. No books filled with soft handwriting, childish drawings, phrases like, today. I felt the baby move. I'll name her Anna. If something happens to me, I hope she finds this one day. Marcello knows too much. I have to leave before. The sentences were incomplete, but it was enough. The proof was there. Anna held the notebooks tightly to her chest. She could smell her mother, the weight of the past, the warmth of something she had always searched for, without knowing how to name it. But when she turned to go back up, the staircase was broken. Someone had followed her. Someone knew. And now, Anna was trapped in the cellar. Alone. With her mother's journal. And the fear of the truth. Asterisk. The cellar was dark, but the fear was clear as the midday sun. Anna trembled, clutching the notebooks like someone clinging to the only rope that keeps them alive. Every noise echoed like thunder. The wind through the cracks, an imagined footstep, the wood creaking by itself, Above her, the broken staircase. Someone had destroyed it, on purpose, and she knew who. Marcello, she whispered, her mouth dry, because he alone knew about the journal. He alone had been there that day. He alone had everything to lose. Anna tried to scream, but the mansion was deep, designed to hide, not to hear. The cellar was a secret within a secret upstairs. Marcello paced in circles, his breathing erratic, his face flushed, eyes shut as if trying to erase what he saw. The lawyer had threatened him. If that journal comes to light, you lose everything. And not just money, you lose your name, you lose your freedom, you'll be charged with conspiracy, forgery, omission. Marcello shook his head. I didn't want this. You just wanted to make the girl disappear. You just signed the papers. You just profited from the silence. But silence has an expiration date. And Anna was the scream he had tried to silence for years. Downstairs, she lit another candle. The flame danced across the journal's pages, and among the writings, a smaller, thinner envelope with the Brandau family crest and a golden ribbon dot inside, a handwritten document by her mother. If something happens to me, I declare that my daughter Anna is the sole legal heir to everything I've built and everything that was stolen from me. May she find love where there was only absence and the signature. Anna cried, but it was there, on that dirty, dark floor, that she understood. She was no longer just a little girl. She was the last living memory of a woman silenced, and that held power. She heard a noise above. The hatch opened slowly. A shadow descended. Marcello with a canister of gasoline in his hand. I didn't want to do this, Anna, but you have to forget. You have to disappear, just like your mother. Anna backed away, but didn't run. If you burn this, you kill her a second time. She's already dead, and she took my life with her. No, Anna shouted. You're the one who killed your own chance to be someone good. Marcello came closer. He opened the can, poured the liquid on the floor. The candle flickered. One spark, and everything would go up in flames. But before the fire could begin, something unexpected happened. A voice echoed in the cellar, strong, firm. Marcello, put that down. It was Zulmira, with a shotgun in her hands. I warned you, if you touch that child, you'll find out what a real grandmother is. Marcello froze. Anna ran toward her. The notebooks clutched to her chest. The grandmother fired into the air. Smoke filled the cellar. The echo awakened the mansion, and the lawyer, who was waiting outside, in the running car, fled on foot. That day, the truth nearly turned to ash, but it didn't, because a little girl with bread in her hands now held the whole story, and that no one could erase. At the police station, the police chief scratched his head. He looked over the notebooks, the handwritten document, the old photos. He picked up the envelope with the crest as if he were holding a bomb ready to explode. If this is true, this will bring down half the city. Dona Zulmira, Anna's grandmother, didn't blink. It's true, and if you want to check, take her blood. You'll see the blood is the same, even when they try to hide it. Blood speaks. Anna, sitting on the bench, hugged her knees. A police officer offered her a glass of water. She refused. All she wanted was for it to be over. The commissioner turned to Marcello, handcuffed in the corner of the room. Do you have anything to say? Marcello breathed through his mouth. He was sweating. His lips trembled. I just obeyed. It was the lawyer. He planned everything. I only signed. And why did you lock the girl in the cellar? The commissioner snapped. Because she could bring it all down. The phrase hit the wall and bounced. An echo of guilt. The commissioner stood up. You'll answer for kidnapping, attempted destruction of evidence, concealment of the truth. He looked at Anna, and for the pain you caused. Marcello was taken away. And as he was being escorted out, he turned to Anna and said, Forgive me. I just didn't know how to lose. Anna looked at him, without judgment, but without forgetting either. You can't lose what you never had. The next day, the city woke up to headlines like, Girl from the neighborhood heir to a lost empire lost. Journal reveals old crime and scandal in the Brandau family. Anna became the name of a street, a school, a topic of bakery gossip. But none of that mattered, because she only wanted two things, justice and peace. And justice arrived with flavor. The judge read the burned will, accepted the handwritten document, and declared that from that moment on, Anna would be recognized as the legal descendant of Teodoro Brando and rightful heir to all the assets he had given away, but which, by a reversion clause, would automatically revert to a direct bloodline in case of fraud. The lawyer, on the run abroad, Don Marcello, 15 years in prison, and Anna, she became owner of more than a fortune. She became the owner of her own name, and that is worth more than any inheritance. But she didn't keep it all. She did something no one expected. She gave away half the fortune. She created a foundation in her mother's name, and with the other half, she built a school in the same neighborhood where it had all begun, where a piece of bread was offered, and the world turned, and it turned with joy. The foundation began small, in a forgotten warehouse in the old downtown, but it bore a heavy name, Clara Dana Institute, in honor of the Silent's mother and the daughter who spoke for both. At the entrance, a phrase carved in iron, "The one who gives what they don't have, gives who they are." The institute grew quickly. The neighborhood, once marked by mud, became a symbol of hope. Children in new uniforms, hot meals, notebooks full of writing, and bread every day, because Anna never forgot the day she only had one, and she shared it. In the main hall, a portrait of her mother smiling, holding baby Anna, like the memory she had rebuilt herself. There, Anna personally welcomed families living what she had once lived. People said Anna didn't just have money, she had light, and those who entered there left changed. Zomira, now affectionately called Don Azul, ran the kitchen. Food must have a soul, my dear. Those who eat just to fill their stomach stay empty. Marcello, in prison, sent a letter. He asked for forgiveness, said he read everything about the institute in the prison newspapers, that if he could go back, he too would have given that bread. Anna read the letter. She cried, but she didn't reply, because forgiveness isn't asked, it's lived. One day, a skinny boy with messy hair showed up at the institute's door, dirty, barefoot, a sack of cans on his back. He looked at Anna and asked, "Ma'am, is there any bread?" She smiled. "There's more than that. Come in." The boy ate 3 pieces, cried silently, and before leaving asked, "Are you rich?" Anna thought. She looked around, the kids playing, the elders dancing foro on the porch, the open books, the smell of fresh bread from the oven, and she answered, "No, I'm healed." Because hunger wasn't just for food, it was hunger for a name, a voice, a future. And she, through blows and truths, had overcome the void. On the Institute's anniversary, Anna gave a speech. Without a script, she spoke from the heart. I gave a piece of bread and received the world. But the most beautiful thing is that I never had to see food again. Because now, every day, someone sits at our table, and the table is never empty. The crowd stood and applauded, and her story became a book, a film, a lecture. But she remained Anna. Just Anna. The little girl who shared her last piece and discovered that love multiplies. Even with the world at her feet, Anna never left the neighborhood. She built a new house on the same lot where she had grown up with her grandmother. Now plump dogs that were once skinny, the restored old stove, and windows wide open to the world. "This is the only mansion where I can breathe," she used to say, and it was true. The new house had smooth cement floors, flowery curtains, and the smell of fresh coffee every morning. There was no luxury, but there was a home, and that was more than enough. Newspapers wanted interviews, magazines offered covers. A TV network even proposed a reality show about the orphan who became a millionaire. Anna refused everything. My story is not a show, it's a scar. One evening, a woman showed up at the door. Simple clothes, hollow eyes, voice nearly gone. "Is this the institute?" Anna nodded. "Dad, can I help you?" The woman hesitated. Then she pointed to a little girl hiding behind her leg. "My daughter. She doesn't speak anymore, since her father." Her voice broke. Since he disappeared. Anna knelt down at the child's eye level. "What's her name?" The woman didn't answer. Neither did the little girl. So Anna gently extended her hand. "It's okay if you don't want to say anything today, but if tomorrow you want to draw, dance, or just sit on this bench with me, we can start there." The girl took her hand, cold, tiny, and smiled. The next day, she came in drawing. The following week, she came in talking, and by the 3rd week, she softly said, "You look like an angel." Anna replied, "I'm not an angel, my flower. I'm a loaf of bread, one that was given to me one day." And now I shared out the news spread again, but this time no one shouted, because those who know hunger learn to speak softly, and what Anna had created was no longer just a project. It was a refuge, a place where the invisible became visible, where forgotten names became stories. And where a simple gesture saved a life. Sometimes it was just a plate of food. Other times an embrace. But the most beautiful thing was that nothing there had to do with money. It was all about care, and that money has never been able to buy. Asterisk. A few weeks after the inauguration of the Institute's new wing, a library filled with books donated by people from all over the country, Anna received an envelope, yellowed, no return address, just her name, written in a handwriting she recognized instantly. Teodoro. She trembled inside. She sat on her grandmother's porch bench, took a deep breath, and opened it. Inside, a letter, handwritten, dated the days before his death. Anna, if you're reading this, it means you survived the worst. And I have finally found rest. I spent half my life creating wealth, and the other half trying to escape it. I discovered that power doesn't lie in what we own, but in what we choose to give. You gave a piece of bread, my child, a piece of bread. Wow, I gave my heart too late. Forgive me for not being there, for not protecting your mother, for believing the lie I was told. But know that, from the moment you offered that piece of bread to a filthy old man on the street, you began to rewrite our story. You are not just my granddaughter. You are the best part of our family. Live freely. When the time comes, write your own letter, because there will always be someone who needs to know they're still worth believing. And the letter slipped from her lap, carried away by the wind. But she smiled. That same night, Anna opened a wooden box from the closet. Inside, she kept her mother's notebooks, the official document that now bore the brand new name, the first photo of the Institute, and the bread. Yes, the bread, or what remained of it, a dry, petrified piece, wrapped in plastic, a symbol, a miracle. And beside it, a note written by Anna herself. Never forget where you came from. Never. Anna knew she could go farther, open more institutes, travel, move away. But she also knew that her mission wasn't to spread her name. It was to spread meaning. And there, in the silence of the porch, she wrote her letter. The first one, addressed to a little girl she hadn't met yet, but who, one day, like her, would be hungry for food, for love, for truth. In the neighborhood, Anna was a living legend. Everyone knew her, spoke of her as if she were a saint. But one Sunday, under a cloudy sky and a strange breeze, Anna didn't show up. Not at the Institute. Not at home. Not at the bakery where she got her coffee at exactly 7 a.m. Dona Zul was the first to notice. Anna is never late, not even to her own funeral, if she had one. She called her number, called again and again. Nothing. She went to the house. The door was locked, everything in place. No sign of struggle. The teapot still full, the bread stale on the table, and a note from the day before, left on top of her mother's journal. Today, I need to walk alone. The neighborhood stirred. Rumors popped like hot popcorn. They kidnapped her. She ran off with the money. She's sick and hiding it. But Dona Zul knew every silence of her granddaughter, every full stop, every sigh. And she knew Anna hadn't run away. Anna had gone to find something. By the end of the day, the post office received a package sent to the Institute. Inside, a video on a simple USB drive wrapped in a dishcloth. In the video, Anna, her hair tied back, sat on a stone, the sea behind her, and a calm look, the look of someone who owed nothing. She spoke in a soft voice. Don't worry about me. I just went to find the missing piece. She said she needed to understand her mother's absences, visit the places mentioned in the notebooks, retrace the erased steps, because some stories don't end with the truth. They begin with it. At the end of the video, she smiled and said, don't look for me, remember me. On screen, an image of the Institute appeared, and the phrase, the bread you give, brings you home. The video went viral, but no one could trace it. No GPS, no location, nothing. Dona Zul simply closed the door, lit a candle, and whispered. She didn't disappear. She became wind. But everyone knew Anna would return, in her own way, because those who share bread never leave forever. As time passed, the Institute kept running, stronger than ever. Volunteers came from other cities, people who had seen Anna's video and decided to change their lives. Retired doctors, teachers, cooks, artists, all came, all stayed, and Anna became a myth. Stories were told like miracles. She appeared in a remote village and taught a little girl to write her mother's name before she died. She healed an old woman with just conversation, coffee, and hugs. She left a note in an old Bible, and the girl who read it never thought of suicide again. But none of this came from Anna. It came from others, because Anna herself stayed silent. Dona Zul kept everything in order. The repainted gate, the ovens fired up, the notebooks of Anna's daughter locked in a safe, untouched. Yes, notebooks, because before she left, Anna made one last donation, a project to train new leaders, called Loaves. Each chosen girl received a letter, a piece of Anna's clothing, and a mission: share whatever you have, even if it's just a word. One morning, a new girl arrived, shy. She wore a blue ribbon around her neck. She was welcomed by Dona Zul. "What's your name?" The girl answered in a soft voice. "Clara." Zomira froze. "The same name as Anna's mother." "Who sent you?" The girl smiled. "A woman by the road. She gave me some bread and said to come here, that you would understand." Zomira knelt and saw, tied to the blue ribbon, a small folded paper, written by hand. "She remembers me, just as you remembered." Zomira cried for the first time since Anna left, but it wasn't from pain. It was from relief, because there, before her, was the proof that Anna no longer needed to come back, because she was already everywhere. In the hands of those who give. In the feet of those who walk, in the stomachs of those who eat. And in the names of those who, finally, exist. Anna had left everything, but she had taken nothing, and she didn't need to, because her legacy wasn't in possessions. It was in gestures. Years later, the Clara Dana Institute became a national reference. It was mentioned in newspapers, school textbooks, and conferences around the world. It received awards that no longer fit on the walls. But the most beautiful thing was what couldn't be seen. It was the silence before coffee, the hug before a shower, the patience before literacy. It was the warm bread served even when the electricity bill was overdue. It was the gesture. And Anna's story, well, it became legend. People said she now lived in a northern village, helping an indigenous community register their children's names. Others swore she lived in a monastery in silence, praying for those who never had a voice. Some even said she had died, but no one dared to confirm it. Dona Zul, now older, her eyes wiser than ever, sat on the porch with a Bible on her lap and the kettle on the stove. When asked about her granddaughter, she smiled. Anna doesn't disappear. Anna just changes form. And if anyone doubted, she would point. "See that girl there? The one tending the garden? Or that boy teaching music?" Each of them is Anna, because she left a piece of herself in each one. In the Institute's library, a new painting was hung, a portrait of Anna. Hair in the wind, serene gaze, a broken loaf in her hands. Below it, a phrase she had once scribbled on a napkin before she left: "Some people are born to accumulate. I was born to share." And next to it, an old button, the one that had come off her dress the day she gave bread to the old man in the square. It was just a button, but it said everything. At the Institute's 20th anniversary celebration, a woman, very much like Anna, appeared among the guests. She sat in the back. She didn't speak to anyone. She just watched in silence. At the end, she left a note on Dona Zul's table. "The bread has been shared, and now the world is a little more whole." Zomira closed her eyes and whispered, "Now, yes, she has returned, because the world turns, my child, and sometimes it turns with joy. But when it turns around someone who loves, it stops being round. And becomes a home."